Welcome back, guys. We're driving to the gym, and we missed yesterday in terms of I didn't go to the gym, I didn't record one of these, and that's because I was out of town. It was Mother's Day weekend. My sister and I drove down, visited our mom and grandmother, and we were coming back late last night yesterday, so I didn't end up getting in a workout. But all is still good. I'll double down today, and we're going pretty early. It's about 3 o'clock right now, so we'll have plenty of time to do a pretty intense workout, and we'll see if we really double down. I don't know if we'll actually do double what we normally would, but we'll do some more. So other than that, I was just leaving my house, and as I was leaving the house, I saw a truck from Lowe's coming to pick up some materials. So I swung back and helped make sure everything went well, and we just got that delivery picked up. So what ended up happening with it was, we had some leftover materials from the patio that we were building that we didn't need, and we had them on the pallets still that they were delivered on. And these were just stones, like retaining wall blocks and patio pavers. So pretty big stones. But they'd come wrapped in plastic so that, not individually, but like the whole thing, so that they were one solid unit on the pallet, and individual stones couldn't slide off and hit someone in the head if the truck was driving around a corner. And, we'd taken the plastic off to, take out the stones that we needed and do the work. And so these guys had already come to pick the stones up once, and they said, oh, we can't take them unless they're wrapped in plastic. Like, you have to call Lowe's and have Lowe's send someone down to wrap these stones up. So, I talked to the people at Lowe's, and they said, oh yeah, these guys, they called us when they left, and they said that the stones needed to be wrapped up, so we're going to send someone down to do it. And that's supposed to happen on Tuesday, which is today. So no one had come to wrap those stones up, and I saw the truck coming. I assumed that, maybe someone would be in the truck from Lowe's who was able to wrap these up with whatever plastic was necessary. I mean, I could have done it if they were happy with saran wrap, but I don't think that would have cut it. So, no one had come, and the guy said, oh, I see nobody wrapped the stones up. No one came. And I was like, yeah, I thought they were going to come with you. And he was like, that's okay. We'll just take them like this. And, the store's not far. We'll drive carefully. So they just finished taking them, and that's kind of an instance where rules and critical thinking are, or rather, it's very useful to be able to think critically about things when rules are involved. Because imagine if that was, like if these were robot delivery people, like if they were just going off of some predetermined rules and they couldn't make adjustments to what they were told to do, then it would have just become another waste of time. But because they were already here and they were like, it's not that far, they just decided like, all right, there's a rule about this, but Lowe's has dropped the ball twice already, so let's just take it. And I really like that kind of stuff when you're dealing with people instead of just like a bureaucracy almost. Like it seems like when things get too big and when you get too far away from the people involved in things, it's just these rules and fees can build up, and like the whole justice system, I feel, is kind of very rule based. And while we do still have judges who can make decisions about what to do in the courtroom, I mean, I don't know, they don't really have unlimited power. And I mean, the justice system, that's kind of a place where you do want some solid rules just to make sure that nobody gets wrongly accused of anything, and that there is a process that makes sure these people are meant to be charged with whatever crimes they're charged with, and receive whatever punishments people have deemed necessary. But a lot of the time it seems like, because there's just so many rules around legality and what people are able to do, that you hear about times that a cop might pull someone over and they find a little joint or something, and they just have to take the person to jail, even though the cop might even have a joint themselves when they get back home. It's just all these rules and cameras on the cops that, they don't want to break the rules on camera. So, I mean, I'm not saying the cameras on cops is a bad thing. I actually think it is good, for a lot of things to have cameras so that you have, verifiable evidence of what happened and what the cops saw, what exchanges occurred, and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's good in some ways, but it would be better if the system itself were able to think a little bit about what is just. And, and if justice could be served on a case-by-case basis. And that doesn't just go for the legal system. That even goes for, like, what just happened today with the guys who picked up these stones just a little bit ago. They kind of served out their own justice. They said, like, look, the Lowe's is screwing this guy, like, not sending the person out to wrap these stones up. So we'll just take them. We'll take them as is, even though there's a rule that says, they should be wrapped up in plastic. We'll just drive carefully. The store is honestly, like, less than a mile from my house. It's very close. And so it's not a long delivery. It's not on any major roads, like side roads you could use pretty much, and it's easy. So that's what they're gonna do, and hopefully everything goes well. But that's the kind of justice that I like to see served out. And oftentimes it's like people know what the right thing to do is. Like, people have an innate feeling about what the right thing to do is. And I even feel that a lot of the time, some of the rules we have, and the rules that we have for good reason, like, don't assault anyone, sometimes those rules get taken too far and someone's being a real prick and they need to, get taught a lesson. And people can't teach them that lesson because that person's just going to yell for help, and the cops are going to get there and arrest the people who were potentially rightfully so trying to teach someone a lesson that they ought to have learned. And so it's allowed, people to get away with stuff that in the past they wouldn't have been allowed to get away with. I mean, if someone was being if someone was being a real asshole in public to people, or in a bar or something, there's tropes about, a person would then get thrown out the bar window after, they got a black eye from getting beat up and stuff. And that person would then probably not do that stuff again because they didn't want that to happen to them. And nowadays, it's like, as long as they don't cross a certain line where they don't put their hands on somebody, or I guess that's it. As long as they aren't putting their hands on somebody, they don't have to worry about anyone putting their hands on them, even if they might deserve it. And so, obviously I like that there are laws that stop, a random person from just coming up and beating somebody up who doesn't deserve it. And it is arbitrary to say who deserves it. Maybe somebody just got mad prematurely, and it definitely stops some bad things from happening to have these laws. But the way that they're enforced is so strict, and it's maybe not, it's just, we're not at the point where we have a perfect system in place where everything is worded perfectly. And I don't know if you ever could really word some system like this perfectly, because things are going to be up to interpretation, and everybody's interpretation is going to be a little different. So, it would be really tough to have a system where some people could beat people up if they were doing something that warranted it, but it would be tough. But we have lost a little bit of this kind of person-to-person justice and just doing what's right, because our country has gotten so large, and, the internet's really allowed for things to get bigger than they have in the past. Now you can govern, on a much larger scale. Whereas, even back in the day when there were kings, it's like you still kings of large countries, you still needed people on the ground kind of managing communities of like a couple hundred people. Just because there was no other way to have report. You wouldn't know what was going on unless you had people on the ground, and those people could, deal out some justice. Probably not as good as what you could get in a small tribal community, but we've only gotten farther away from that. So I'm parked. That's it. That is just a thought that I had when this guy decided to pick up the stones from that project. I really appreciated it. I thanked him, and I think I'd like to live my life kind of doing that kind of stuff instead of just adhering very strictly to whatever rules are in place. Because I think at a certain point, rules don't necessarily need to be followed to the T. I mean, there's probably some good intent behind them, but I'm going to end this here. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.